You can be Sandra D from Greece, being all perfect. Look at me, I'm Sandra D. I go to bed at this time. I do all my sleep routine. And if the function of your nervous system or your blood sugar is off, there goes your sleep salary. And if your digestion is off, there goes your nutrition salary. That's 2 out of our 3 massive resources. And the third resource, pleasure. It is not magnesium, it's not protein, it's not fiber, it's not your omegas, it's not vitamin D, and yet I believe it is one of the most common deficiencies that I see in women navigating perimenopause and menopause. Hey there, I'm Bria, and welcome to the Period Whisperer podcast. If you're over 35 and ready for real answers about your hormones, you're in the right place. Hit subscribe and stay with us. Hey there, sister. Welcome back to the Period Whisperer podcast. I am diving into the nitty-gritty and the meat and potatoes of this right away because I'm feeling super fired up about this topic. Today, I want to talk about a deficiency that almost nobody is talking about. I haven't seen it come up in my Instagram algorithms yet. I haven't been sold a supplement for it yet. It is not magnesium. It's not protein. It's not fiber. It's not your omegas. It's not vitamin D. And yet, I believe it is one of the most common deficiencies that I see in women navigating perimenopause and menopause. Are you ready for the drum roll? I'm not burying the lead here. I'm getting right to it. It's pleasure. You have a pleasure deficiency, or maybe you do. It's not necessarily sexual pleasure, although that's certainly part of the conversation. But what I'm talking about is joy. It's play. It's fun. It's delight. It's connection. It's beauty. It's novelty. It's laughter. It's things that bring you joy that don't have a responsibility attached to them. And I say that because obviously we get joy out of our children and our pets, but there's a responsibility attached to them. And even sometimes our spouse, right? Sometimes it's like you have a responsibility to that person. You can't just joyfully, peacefully be you. Everyone's a little different here. These are the things that make you feel alive, right? And before you dismiss this, before you go away from this episode as a fluffy, nice to have, I want to explain this in a more sciencey way. I want to explain why this matters biologically, because pleasure is not a luxury. It's physiology. So one of the things that I teach my clients is the concept of health debt. I'm sure you've heard me talk about it on the podcast, but I'm going to go over it again in case you forgot or you're new. Think of your body like a bank account. Every day you're making withdrawals and deposits. Stress is a withdrawal. Poor sleep is a withdrawal. Blood sugar swings are a withdrawal. Overtraining is a withdrawal. All the other things that happen and stress you out in life, like all your regular life energy stuff, is a withdrawal. Perimenopause itself is often a withdrawal because your body is working harder to maintain balance. And most women are living in a state of constant withdrawals. And then they wonder why they're exhausted. And we get this deficiency in supply and demand, or withdrawals and deposits. And that's when we start to get symptoms. That's where symptoms happen, is in the imbalance of withdrawals and deposits, in the debt. And the kicker is that 2 of our 3 largest energy resources, sleep and food, we're a little screwed with those right now. What if you aren't sleeping well because your progesterone has dropped or your cortisol's all wonky? Okay, there goes a major, that's like getting fired from your job. All of a sudden, we don't have that energy anymore. And if your gut isn't in a place where it's breaking down and absorbing your nutrients properly, well, there goes the other one. And you can have all perfect habits. You can be just, who am I thinking of here? Sandra D. You can be Sandra D from Greece, being all perfect. Look at me, I'm Sandra D. I go to bed at this time. I do all my sleep routine. You can be perfectly eating, quote unquote. And if the function of your nervous system or your blood sugar is off, there goes your sleep salary. And if your digestion is off, there goes your nutrition salary. And then we're kind of screwed. basically, because that's two out of our three massive resources. And the third resource, pleasure. And you know this, right? Think about like this is the most powerful deposit. So think about the fact that this is the most powerful deposit that isn't a supplement. And that I guess you can't necessarily force it, but like sleep, you can hold space for it, but it doesn't require nutrition planning. It doesn't require meal planning. Pleasure is one of the largest sources of energy that we can find. And hear me out here. If you can remember the last time you fell in love, like, you could spend all night talking to that person, right? Without thinking of sleep or without thinking of nutrition or feeding yourself. Like, you might just spend all of this time with them just in this little, birds are singing, butterflies are everywhere situation because you are flooded with pleasure at that time. You're not even thinking about food or sleep. That's how big of a resource and an untapped resource is for us. When we experience genuine pleasure, joy, connection, laughter, awe, creativity, play, our nervous system shifts. Like the channel is changing on our body, right? Our stress hormone decreases, our dopamine rises, our oxytocin rises, endorphins rise. Our body receives a message. Oh, I'm safe. And safety is one of the most healing signals we can send the body. So not only are we getting this signal that we're safe, but we're flooded with energy that the body didn't have to create, didn't have to break down like it does with food. All of a sudden we're flooded with this that doesn't cost your body any energy. And you hold space. We hear this a lot, from people who maybe were going through a very stressful time and miserable, and then they changed their life, and all of a sudden the weight fell off. They feel so much better, right? Maybe they got out of, a toxic relationship and their body completely changed all of a sudden. I have a friend whose mother had a really good friend that had been in a toxic marriage for years, and she always struggled with her weight. And this is a horrible thing to say, but I know her partner passed away and she just melted. Obviously, there's a stress component to that, but the stress that she was in because of the toxic, abusive relationship that she was in kept her stuck. That is how powerful this is. Think about this for yourself. How often do you go on vacation and suddenly, oh, you're sleeping better? Your digestion improves. You can eat things that you couldn't eat at home all of a sudden. Your energy is better. You're like, oh, I actually had energy all day for this day. I didn't really have any crazy cravings. You feel lighter. You feel more optimistic, more like yourself in general. Maybe you actually feel like having sex with your partner because you're on vacation. Did your hormones magically change overnight? Not exactly, but your nervous system did. The channel changed. Your body finally got a break from that constant vigilance, that stuckness, that like anxiety that was keeping you stuck there. That is the power of pleasure. And I have seen this happen countless of times with clients, women who have been stuck for months amidst their chaotic life and family schedule. Weight like literally will not budge no matter what they do. Energy is low, sleep sucks. Then they take time off. They go 10 days to Europe. And I feel like Europe is especially good at this for people because a lot of my clients who aren't celiac but are gluten sensitive can go to Europe and eat the gluten and lose weight. It's unbelievable. I have these clients that take a week off, a vacation, a girls' trip, even just a weekend away, and suddenly things start moving again for them, not because they just found the perfect supplement or all of a sudden our work just clicked, because they finally experienced enough pleasure, enough relaxation, enough joy to lower the burden that their body was carrying. One of the challenges is that we can slowly lose touch with our own little pleasures in life. And I see this a lot of the times. But when we get a chance, so one of my clients said she managed to take her family to France for 7 weeks. She had been struggling for years, and we had done a lot of work together. She lost over 11 pounds on that trip, and she still drank wine, and she still ate cheese and baguette. She just walked more and rested more and worked a little less. And I know that's not realistic for everyone. But like I was saying, one of the challenges that we face is that we can slowly lose touch with what our little pleasures are in life. In fact, on the weekend, I had one of my favorite humans over, one of my favorite friends for sushi and wine. And we were, bouncing around topics, getting deep. This is what I love to do with my friends. I love to have deep, in depth conversations. And we were talking about singing in our car. And I remember, like, I have memories, of especially when I first got my license, but I have a couple of big memories from university years where, we had all that freedom and if like the spring would be starting to come and we'd be in one of our cars with a bunch of girlfriends, windows down, like I think it was like Lady Marmalade pumped. And I just remember the joy of that moment. I remember road trips with girlfriends where we would just sing our little hearts out to whatever song the entire time and how much joy and pleasure that gave me. But somewhere in my last life, I stopped singing in the car. And my friend who was here asked me, "How does that even happen? How do you just stop singing in your car?" And look, it doesn't happen necessarily like that, I'm gonna snap my fingers. It doesn't happen necessarily overnight, but whether you just get worn down a bit from life, whether you have a partner that doesn't appreciate your singing in your car, that says negative things to you about it, makes you feel like you're being too loud or shushing you, which may or may not have been my experience, you stop doing these little things that bring you joy. And yet, this is one of the simplest ways now where I can find joy in just the 15-minute school drop off and back. Although I think my son doesn't always love my singing in the car, but I do it anyway now. These are the little things that can bring such a big impact. And yet, we often lose touch of what any of those things are because we're caught up in the demands of our life. We've almost forgotten this side of ourselves a little bit, and that's really where deficiency starts to come in. There's a book that had a profound impact on me by Regina Thomas Howard called Pussy, A Reclamation. So I highly recommend, if you are struggling with pleasure, I highly recommend you check out this book. But one of the concepts she talks about is rupture. The places where we've disconnected from ourselves, the places where life slowly teaches us that our needs don't matter, that pleasure is selfish, that fun is unproductive, that everyone else's needs come first. And over time, we stop asking what would feel good. What would bring me joy? What lights me up? Not because we don't want those things, but because we've forgotten they're available. And this idea of rupturing helps us to release the stress or release and almost change our own channel. So I think she talks about in the book actually having like rupture sessions with her friends where they would just like have full on tantrums on the floor, which I think sounds really crazy and fun. But I can find that that might seem like a lot. So I just find like a really good scream in your car. I say this to my clients all the time, just scream in your car. It took me like several times of trying to scream in my car to actually get a sound out. I had a client tell me once, like, I scared myself with the scream that came out, but holy heck, did I ever feel lighter afterwards. Whether you scream in your car or into a pillow or whether you sing at the top of your lungs, these are ways that we rupture in our life. Of course, orgasming is a great rupture. So if you're not into the one that you could have an orgasm with, you can also have it with yourself. That's another way to kind of rupture and release. It releases things, it impacts that physiology of your body, and it changes the channel and creates space for you to think differently, feel differently, and therefore for your body to start to do some healing. Here's what I've noticed. When life feels heavy, we often stop doing the very things that help us feel lighter. I had a conversation with another friend who's like, I'm noticing in this challenging part of my life that I'm pulling away and isolating. And I am just like that. And maybe you are too, where when things get hard, you get quiet. And sometimes we need self-reflection for sure, but it's okay to be quiet with your friends. It's okay to be quiet in a safe space and continue to remember that there's more than just the problems that you're having. So when life feels heavy, we stop dancing, we stop laughing, we stop creating, we stop connecting, we stop playing, we stop exploring, we stop having fun. And then we wonder why everything feels hard. One of my favorite truths is this: joy doesn't necessarily make your problems disappear, but it makes them feel smaller. And when problems feel smaller, stress goes down. And when stress goes down, healing becomes easier, hormones become easier, sleep becomes easier, everything becomes easier, and weight releases. A body that is stressed will not release weight. It is holding on to conserve for that massive energy suck called stress, short of starving yourself into an eating disorder, which we do not recommend. Now, I know that some of you might be thinking, maybe you're bought in. You're like, okay, Bria, I get it. That sounds wonderful, but my life is just so full. I get that. Work, kids, aging parents, responsibilities, appointments, bills, laundry, life. Sometimes finding time for joy feels impossible. Sometimes we don't even know what brings us joy anymore. And if that's you, you are absolutely not alone. So I want to make it practical for you. Instead of asking, what would bring me joy for an entire weekend? Ask, what would bring me 5 minutes of pleasure today? Maybe it's sitting in the sun with your coffee. Maybe it's listening to music and singing in the car like it is for me. And I like to put the windows down. I like to feel my hair blow. And it just makes me feel like I'm somewhere else and someone else sometimes when I'm the drainbow, right? When you feel like you're the drainbow, we want to change that channel. Maybe it's walking without your phone. Maybe it's buying yourself some fresh flowers. If you live in the US, I love Trader Joe's. They're so great for those fresh flowers. Reading fiction, right? When was the last time you read a book for pleasure? Sometimes I have to remind my clients, okay, no more personal development books. You're fully personally developed enough right now. We have to develop other sides of you, the creative side, the playful side. Maybe it's dancing in the kitchen or calling a friend or painting or gardening or watching the sunset, looking at the moon on your nighttime walk. Maybe it's using that fancy candle, or maybe it's even drinking the fancy bottle of wine. Maybe it's taking a bath or going to a bookstore and just wandering around and getting yourself a yummy frappa, you know what. Maybe it's eating your meal outside. Maybe it's just trying something that you've never done before, which does change the channel on our brains, which does create pleasure for us. When we're doing the same thing over and over every single day, doing something new is joyful. It really is. So here's a little simple exercise for you. Step 1. Make a list of 20 things you've enjoyed at any point in time in your life. Think about even when you're back to being a kid. I remember skipping as a kid and loving skipping. I thought that was super fun. I love the smell of horses and I love driving with my windows down. I love certain songs on the radio and, giggling with friends. So not things that you should enjoy, what you actually enjoyed throughout your whole life. Circle the things that are easiest to do this week. Okay, now schedule one of them. Here's your step 3. Schedule it, not someday, this week, right now. I want you to put it in your calendar. Schedule it. And it doesn't have to be much, right? Just one 5-minute song in the car, just one, you know, chapter of a new book, whatever that is for you. And then notice how you feel afterward, not just emotionally, but physically, energetically, mood, sleep, cravings, stress, all of these pieces. And then step 5 is to repeat. Now you want to repeat this because pleasure is not a reward for healing, right? Pleasure is part of the healing. You have a pleasure deficiency. If you are genuinely doing all of the things, and, obviously lab work can be a really powerful piece. And of course, if you are stuck, if you're like, okay, I don't even know if I'm doing all of the things, Bria, it's time for you to join us in Midlife Mojo. If you're not in Midlife Mojo, this is my signature community program that walks you through for 90 days. Your hormone revival gives you everything you need and gives you quick on-demand troubleshooting videos. It gives you access to me in live Q&As. It gives you access to my workouts, to my nutrition, everything that I like to do, everything that I share for just $24 a month. And you get a free 7-day trial. But if you haven't tried this piece, try it. If you're exhausted, if you're overwhelmed, if you're carrying the weight of the world right now, this is your reminder that your body, yes, needs nutrients and protein and sleep and movement and everything I teach in the Hormone Revival in the new Midlife Mojo, which you can click below and join. But it also needs joy. It needs laughter. It needs connection. It needs beauty. It needs pleasure. And maybe that's the deficiency worth paying attention to this week. So before you buy another supplement, try this exercise and then report back. Let me know how that goes for you, because maybe your body is simply just whispering, let me just enjoy being alive today. All right, sister, if you are stuck, you have 2 options to reach out to me. Scroll down in, book a free call, and let me help you and understand what's going on and point you in a direction, or come and join us inside of Midlife Mojo. It is a one-stop shop for hormones for just $24 a month. Cancel anytime, free 7-day trial. I think you're going to love it there. Go out and be more in your life and not just less on a scale, and we'll catch you in the next episode. If you're 35 plus and ready to stop guessing, start understanding your hormones, and feel your absolute best, hit subscribe. That's what we do here.